soul siblings, this is Natalie and you're watching Goddess Undone. And in today's video, I want to talk about the 10 women who made me. So I have always been super inspired, super influenced, super on the same wavelength as women. I definitely prefer music made by female musicians. I'm very much more on a female wavelength. I feel like I'm more of a girl's girl than a guy's girl, so to speak. I was just kind of thinking of, in my life up until this point, from when I was younger to now, especially now because I feel like I'm really coming into my own in the past year or so. I just started thinking about the women who really kick ass to me, to really inspire me, and I came up with a list of 10 different women. So if you are interested in hearing about them, then keep on watching. So the first woman I want to talk about is my mother, Brenda. Hello if you're watching. This is, of course, the first woman I knew in my life. The first person who took care of me, who brought me into this world. So of course she's gonna get the #1 shout out in this video. I was definitely a mama's girl. I definitely remember thinking my mom was the coolest, most wonderful person in the world, most beautiful woman. I used to definitely tell her that she was the most beautiful woman in the world, and I really, really believe that. What my mother taught me was about hard work. My mother was always working very hard. For most of her life and most of my childhood and young adult life, she had a corporate job. She worked 9 to 5. She was very committed. She was very committed to being well dressed. She was very committed to putting in extra hours if needed. She really cared about her job, and I saw that right away. I saw that enthusiasm and desire for hard work right away. And it was definitely very inspiring to me. It showed me how to be diligent and to not give up. Another thing my mom taught me was ethics and morals and virtue, I guess. She definitely did not have any tolerance for me going on the wrong path. If I was messing around from when I was a little kid to when I was a young teenager to after college, she kind of saw me messing around or hanging out with the wrong people. She did not stand for it. She would let me know right away. It was very tough love in that case, which, of course is very frustrating at the time, but I really appreciate it now, because now that I kind of see what I stand for and I value myself more, I kind of see certain people who weren't necessarily good for me to have in my life, and I could see why she wanted to kind of curtail that right away. At the time, I thought she was pretty overbearing, but I really come to appreciate that she has really gotten me to where I am now, where the people in my life are, the most trustworthy people, the most socially commendable people, so to speak. I don't let a lot of people into my life. And she really, really taught me, she taught me how to evaluate character in people, for sure. And one more thing my mom taught me was unconditional love. She's always loved me unconditionally. She's loved me for who I am. She loved me in spite of the mistakes, in spite of the times that she was annoyed with me for doing stupid shit. She always loved me, and she always took care of me, and she just showed me how to love unconditionally and how to really care and accept myself at face value, and care and accept and love people in my life at face value, not trying to change people, not trying to put conditions on things. She really taught me that unconditional love, because I felt that love my whole life from her. So thank you, Mom. The next woman I want to talk about is my grandmother Nilsa on my father's side. She, like many of our grandmothers, taught me about the magic of stories. She just told me so many stories about her life, the many men she loved. It was all very romantic and just fascinating to listen to her tell these stories, and it has been my whole life. She's 80 years old now. And that was the thing about her, and that is still a thing about her that she's also taught me, just about the romance of life. She was kind of what you would consider maybe a little bit of a bohemian. She was always, and she still does to this day, she's always, had lots of beautiful jewelry, ornate jewelry. She typically wears black, but very almost like a gothic style. Nice shoes, she never wears sneakers. I don't think she even really wears flat shoes. She definitely had this very unique, almost witchy actually kind of style to her. She definitely doesn't, she's definitely legit strong Christian, so there isn't this witchiness to her, but she definitely kind of has that in a way, and kind of instilled that in me in like a weird way. Just with like her fashion and her love of life and her love of good story. And even, you know, up until a few years ago, we would meet up in Manhattan, meet up in the city, which is so fun and so different for like a granddaughter-grandmother relationship at, you know, our ages. I mean, even in general. And, you know, we would go to like Cafe Reggio and just, you know, hang out, or just other, you know, cool little, you know, coffee bars or pastry places, go shopping, you know, look at beautiful things. She definitely instilled that romance and that fervor. And she also like my mother, taught me how to, you know, respect myself, you know, love myself when I wasn't being treated well. You know, in relationships with men and things like that. You know, there were definitely a few times within the past 10 years before I met my husband that I, you know, was really devastated over certain situations, and I would go to her, and she was definitely very supportive and a very good ear to have in those times. So yes, thank you to my grandmother, and I really appreciate you really showing me the meaning of magic in my life. Now I want to kind of shift gears a little bit. I'm going to start talking about the rest of the women who, you know, kind of made me, so to speak. And for the most part, these women are, you know, either, you know, a celebrity or someone that I don't know. It's a bit of a parasocial relationship, so to speak. And then you're going to see it's kind of like from when I was younger to more recently, how these people have influenced me, but definitely that kind of parasocial relationship. So the first woman I want to talk about is a musician. There's two musicians on my list, and the first one I want to talk about is Difranco. She was the first musical concert that I went to. She taught me what great guitar and feminism sounded like. She taught me to dream about my future. I just remember being in my bedroom listening to her records when I was a teenager, dreaming that I could move to the city like her and, you know, play acoustic guitar like her, which of course never happened. I did try a little bit of acoustic guitar, but as soon as I realized I was breaking strings every time I tried to tune it, I kind of gave up, which was a little bit of my MO for a long time, but I think I'm finally shifting out of that. Yes, so definitely one of those first really like feminist influences in my life, really kick-ass, just like a cool, like just like that cool chick, especially when you're like a young teenager. I was probably like about 14, 15, 16 when I was really into Difranco. So definitely super awesome, and just really got me into like good rock music and into feminism. So thank you, Ani. The next woman I want to talk about that made me is Gabby Bernstein. I think that she's the kind of guru, so to speak, who kind of introduced me to New Age spirituality. I remember seeing an article of hers in Elle, and you know, she seemed very cool and very interesting, and she had like a picture of herself like meditating in the middle of a New York City street, and I just thought that that was so cool, gorgeous, of course, you know, and I decided to pick up her book, and I really, you know, appreciate the lessons that she taught me. She had a combination of teaches from A Course in Miracles, but she also kind of makes things very relatable. She's kind of around the same age as me, so I kind of like related to some of her stuff that she had went through as like a young woman coming up in New York City. So that was definitely very impactful for me. And I actually went to her Spirit Junkie conference in 2018, which was a very interesting experience. I might eventually make another video all about that. But I've always wanted to hear her speak, and that's another thing. She's one of those people who really inspired me in terms of her speaking. I really, you know, want to really be able to hone in on my own speaking eventually over time. It's something that I struggle with, for sure. As someone who is very introverted, very shy most of my life, that's definitely a struggle for me, but I just so admire people who are really able to speak their minds and speak their hearts and inspire groups of people for the better. And Gabby Bernstein is definitely like one of the first women that just inspired my spirituality and really inspired me to speak my heart, to kind of create a public platform for myself, even if it's this tiny little platform that we got going here. She's definitely inspired a lot of that, and definitely kind of set the bar for me to kind of move into different directions of learning about spirituality from the New Age to more alternative spirituality and witchcraft, and eventually tarot, kind of forging my own path. But it really did start with, you know, the teachings of Gabby Bernstein. So thank you, Gabby Bernstein. The next woman I want to talk about is Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga really taught me to embrace my otherness. All the crazy costumes, the punk rock attitude, the pop music with like the strong like house and club influence, the strong support of LGBTQ culture and people, the advocacy that she's done for LGBTQ community, you know, like really kind of having a real hand in making gay marriage legal, I would say. And I think that that's super cool and super awesome to use your platform for something that is so impactful to such a wide range of people. I just remember in 2011, I think that was the year her Born This Way album came out, and that was the year that I got into the best shape of my life. I have since lost my way in that regard. I'm slowly starting to find my way back in with a different kind of method. And I'll probably talk about that at some point in the future. But I just remember spending a lot of time, the elliptical or the treadmill, listening to the Born This Way album and just the opening song, Marry the Night, and also the song Hair. It was just so super inspiring because she was just so strong and just so different in a way, like a pop star, but still just embracing that otherness, kind of showing you that you could still be powerful and be authentic, which is, I guess, really hit me in a very big way at that time, because at that time I was still very much struggling to be authentic, and it was a struggle that continued on, you know, until very, very recently, I would say. But definitely very inspired by Lady Gaga. Her music is super rad, and I absolutely love Star Is Born, her as well, her and Bradley Cooper. So thank you, Lady Gaga. The next woman I want to talk about is the beauty influencer Atleeeey. She has a beauty YouTube channel and an Instagram. Incredibly gorgeous young woman, cheekbones for days. She definitely taught me about the path of the creative. Like, I feel like she's definitely an artist in a sense. She's definitely, you know, really just like a beauty influencer. It's not super avant-garde or anything like that, but she definitely like lives her art, and she is representative of what she's creating. You know, she's the fashion, the different shoots she does, like the photography that she does. Just very much an artist in her own right, not maybe in the traditional sense of artistry, but definitely kind of marching to that beat of her own drum, and that was also really awesome for me. She also has a very she has a very like deadpan way of talking. She's not necessarily, you know, just having this like super bubbly, typical beauty guru or typical YouTuber personality. She kind of very authentic in that regard, at least it seems that way. Even if she seems a little awkward sometimes, you know, in her speaking, she's just very kind of natural. And also something really cool about her is that she, you know, is very candid in her videos about her mental health and anxiety struggles, which, you know, when I was watching her videos a few years ago, that was definitely very important for me to hear at that time. You know, I was going through my own mental health struggles, and they were coming to a head at that time. Reached the breaking point last year, but before that it was kind of brewing, so to speak, and it was really, you know, important and amazing for me to hear, you know, such a successful, beautiful, creative, artistic woman talk about, you know, the struggles that she faced that were very similar to the struggles that I faced, and that I guess both of us probably continue to face, and a lot of other people as well, obviously. But I think, you know, with this platform, with the Goddess Undone platform, I'm very interested in delving into aspects of mental health. I think that that's something that I want to specialize in, you know, with this channel a little bit, and I think a lot of that does have to do with my own experience, of course, my own story with mental health 100%, but also seeing someone like Atleeeey be able to talk about those things so candidly definitely inspired me as well, so thank you. The next woman I want to talk about is Sarah M. Chappell. Sarah M. Chappell was my tarot mentor last year. She taught me a lot of the things I know about in-depth tarot reading. I did a 3-month mentorship with her, 12 sessions. It actually ended up being 13 sessions that were about an hour and a half over Zoom. We did that last year, and It was amazing. She really kind of again, really taught me tarot. I had already become very interested and was doing a lot of my own research, but she kind of really helped me develop a much deeper, much more personal relationship with the cards. I met her because I'm really into this place called Maha Rose in Brooklyn, New York. I just love the energy about that place. It's like a spiritual center, and she was giving a workshop. This was at a time where I'd first discovered Maha Rose, and I was trying to go to a bunch of workshops from them, and I saw that she was giving one. I believe it was called Tarot Cosmology, and something about like her image, you know, on their website was really striking to me. She just like, I don't know if she kind of reminded me of myself in a way. She's just like this really cool girl with like cool hair and like glasses. I'm a cool girl with cool hair and glasses. So, and also not like someone has this like perfect like yoga, like super ethereal spiritual leader. Like she looks like a regular girl, a beautiful girl, but a regular girl. Like something about her just really spoke to me. I really related to her. And I looked at her website and discovered this mentorship, and I was kind of like, I really have to do this mentorship. So I actually went to the workshop that she was doing in Maha Rose to meet her in person. And it's really cool that I did get to meet her in person, because I think that might be the only time that I actually do get to meet her in person. And we did the mentorship online. So I'm proud of myself for pursuing that relationship, that mentor relationship, and I'm really grateful for what she taught me. She definitely has very much of a yang energy about her, a person who really wants you to go for it. She inspired me to create my business. I'm still kind of working through a lot of issues with getting that off the ground, but I have the foundation laid out, which is so helpful. You know, and she really inspired me to do that at a time where I didn't think I could do that, where at a time where I wasn't even sure if I was really going to be good at reading tarot, or if I had any talent there. She kind of really inspired me to be able to do that, and it's a journey that continues now, but it's just such a passion of mine. And I know, you know, that I really have the passion and the talent and the desire to learn, continue to evolve with the cards. So I'm really grateful to Sarah for taking me on as a mentee, I guess, as an apprentice. So I'm definitely really grateful to her, and I'm just really happy that that kind of fell into place when it did. So thank you, Sarah. So now we're kind of coming into more recent times. Like I developed my relationship with Sarah last year, so that's like pretty recent. And the rest of these people are kind of people who have inspired me recently and inspire me right now. The next person I want to talk about is Lindsay Mack. Lindsay Mack is also in the tarot community. She actually has done podcasts with Sarah and Chappell. Lindsay Mack has her own podcast. It's called the Tarot for the Wild Soul podcast, and it's incredible. Every time she puts up an episode, it's like the first thing that I'm going to listen to out of any podcast. I just love, she has a very calming voice. She's very, very gentle in her delivery. She's very extremely inclusive to a fault, beautifully so. And she's taught me a lot, like Sarah also like helped me gain a further depth into my understanding of the cards. Just is such a comforting person. I feel like she's the type of voice that you could hear that would save people's lives. And I'm very grateful, and I enjoy the shit out of what she talks about. It's very fascinating. I'm just kind of very excited to see what she continues to do. She offers courses. I purchased her Threshold course, which is kind of like a turn of the year, like 2019 going into 2020 course. I haven't completed. I've listened to all the audio material, but I haven't worked through the workbook, which I still want to do. And she of course says like trust your timing, and I kind of really want to get to that. But she offers different courses at different price points. So there's kind of something for everybody. And again, she also has the podcast. So there's that free resource, which is an amazing resource. She does, usually once a week, she'll do like almost like a workshop style podcast. And then she does like mini episodes throughout the week. Just something about her energy. And, she's taught me to be able to like live with, the trauma that I have, and, the things that I struggle with in a way with pride, without having to feel like I necessarily have to solve them or, positive think them away or hide them. She's definitely told me how to integrate a lot of that and to love myself in spite of a lot of that, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, Lindsay Mack. The next one I want to talk about is Amber Khan of The Quietest Revolution. I am actually wearing her merchandise right now, and I love this hoodie. I just got it. It's super, super cool. It has like a cool logo in the back as well. My friend Lupe, who I also met at Maha Rose, actually introduced me to Amber Khan's work, and I am super duper grateful. Amber Khan also has a podcast called Revolution Ramblings. It's super duper entertaining. It runs the gambit. She's, a teacher of astrology, spirituality, but a lot of the podcast is just stories from her day-to-day life, her dating life, run-ins with friends and frenemies and different things like that. Just very entertaining to listen to, and she's opened my eyes up a lot to politics. In my last video, I kind of touched upon politics a little bit more, my stance on politics, but I'm definitely coming to an awareness for the necessity of thinking about politics and how they affect my life, my family's life, my loved ones, and the society at large. So she's definitely kind of opened my eyes to a lot of that when they were closed for various different reasons. She's kind of a conspiracy theorist, which again is just so interesting to listen to in a podcast. And also she really touts the teachings of cybernetics, which is basically like a subconscious way, from my understanding, is a subconscious way to change your belief systems about yourself to impact change in your life. So just very interesting, very fascinating, very intelligent woman. And she also kind of helped, similar to Lindsay Mack when I listened to her podcast, heal some of the wounds, more specifically towards situations that I had in relationships previous to that of my husband. Just kind of understanding my worth in those situations and understanding how I might have been devalued, or how, at the time where, I wasn't necessarily healed from those things, but kind of just helping me see things, years later in a different perspective, basically through, her stories and her work. So I really do appreciate that. And she also does astrology reading with tarot cards on her YouTube channel, and she's definitely, with her readings on cancers, has definitely helped me to understand my Cancerian nature in a way, especially relating to the Chariot and tarot, in a way that I was never really able to understand it before, but she helped it really click for me. So that's cool, because I have a deeper understanding of one of the cards and a deeper understanding of myself and how I, strive and how I push through things and how I, have challenges. So I am definitely very grateful. So thank you, Amber. Umber, she likes to call herself in her podcast. So the last woman I want to talk about is a very interesting woman, actually. So there's a few women. I wanted to kind of keep this at 10 women who made me, and there were a few women who I was considering putting in this list. So a few honorable mentions here. Again, kind of like parasocial relationships. Grace Duong, who created Mystic Mondays, my all-time favorite tarot deck, is one of them. Kelly Ann Maddox, Jessie Huntingberg, Teal Swan, Danielle Laporte. These are, again, women whose work, whether in the social media sphere or just, in writing or in podcasts, just really inspire me and have helped me to create my own outlook and view on spirituality. And when I educate and when I teach on this channel, is kind of a merging and also resonating and putting my own spin, I would hope to think, on these topics. But definitely these people have really molded me. So I was wondering which other woman I could talk about, and I actually pulled a tarot card to tell me who I could talk about. I was thinking whichever woman kind of seems to embody the tarot card that I pull the most, I'll talk about that woman. And the card that I got was the Chariot. So that just told me that I need to talk about myself as a Cancer. So I'm the 10th woman on the list, me. What I've taught myself, come to really appreciate myself and admire about myself, is my authenticity and my inability to conceal my authenticity, my inability to be fake, to conceal my emotions, to play those games. I always saw that as a weakness for a very, very long time, especially, showing emotions in public and things like that, which are pretty frowned upon in our society. And I could talk about that a little more, in different videos where I talk about my mental health struggles. But I did always feel like it was a weakness. And I always felt like I wanted to be able to be more sociable, to be able to fit in more, to be able to put on a facade, but I've come to realize that my inability to do any of that is probably one of the best things about me, because it makes me super authentic and super hard on my sleeve and super what you see is what you get. So I really love myself for that, and I am my always partner, and I have shown myself the way to be authentic by not being able to be any other way. So I really appreciate that, whereas the ego and the mind wanted different things at different times based on societal or familial expectation on me, my higher self, I guess, always kind of knew who I really was and wouldn't stand for the nonsense. So that's something that I really admire about myself. I also really admire my own determination, perseverance. I've struggled with that in my life, but there are times that I have truly set my mind to something. I have been able to accomplish it, and I've definitely really surprised myself. So when I really set my mind to something, I can be really determined and I will see it through. It's just the commitment-ish part that I'm sometimes having trouble with, but I think I'm moving into a new phase of my life where that hopefully won't be as much of a problem. So I really do appreciate that strong determination that I can have when I really want to. And I just appreciate the journey that I've gone through towards self-acceptance, towards self-love, towards virtue, towards artistry, being an artist, kind of all of these things on this journey that I have taken when there's been so many detractors, including myself, including my own mind, my own ego, that I've been able to forge through and really become and continue to become the truest, most authentic version of myself. So I am really grateful to that. So thank you to me for that. Anyway, that completes this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and have a good one. Bye, guys.